Hi, this is Fang Zhou. Here is my midterm report presentation. My topic is about system engineering in the modern metal tech. And I picked Israel's Merkava as example. Yeah, because the Merkava is the most special metal tank in the modern metal tank family. It placed the engine in front of the tank. Yeah. So we first start from the history of the tank. The idea of tank is come from Britain, and the first large-scale application of tank is during the World War I time. And after that, the tank is widely used by all countries around the world, and it's also widely used during the World War II time. There is a great difference between the modern battle tank and the old style tank. Like during the World War II time, the tank could be classified by their weight, like classified into light tank, middle tank, and heavy tank. And for example, the light tank, like they move really fast, and but the lack of firepower, and they are easy to get destroyed. And for the heavy tank, like the iconic one is the German Tiger tank. It has strong firepower and protection, but it's really slow, like only 40 kilometers per hour. And it cannot transfer around. It cannot transfer around like different battle zones. It's only like do the front assault because it's move kind of slow. Yeah. So different with the old tank, the modern battle tank, they combine the firepower and the protection and the mobility into one. So the iconic one now could be the M1A2 Abrams and the German Leopard 2A7. They have excellent firepower and protection, and besides that, they also maintain a good maneuverability. So, like the speed of the Abrams could reach 70 kilometer per hour. Yeah. So the main battle tank now could be classified into 3 generations, and they all required like to be capable of all combat missions. The first generation of the main battle tank, or the first born of main battle tank, is during the 1950s. And the most representative one could be the Americans' M48 pattern main battle tank. And for the second generation of the main battle tank, they comparing with the first generation, they improved their night vision, and they also installed the NBC protection, like prevent them from nuclear assault or biochemical weapons. So basically, they improved their night vision. So the second generation main battle tank could combat in the night time. And the most representative one could be the Americans M60. MBT, and the German Leopard 1 family. And for the Israel Merkava, the MK1 and MK2 also belongs to the second generation. And for the third generation of the main battle tank, comparing with the second generations, they improved their digital fire control system, and they have a more advanced composite armor, and that greatly improved their defensiveness. The representative one could be the Americans M1 family, the M1A1 and M1A2, and etc. And the German Leopard 2 family. And for the Israel's Merkava, the MK3 and MK4 belongs to the third generation. So here we just talk about the origin of Merkava. So the origin of the Merkava, like we could talk about it like from 2 wars. Before those 2 wars, Israel's only import main battle tanks, and after that, that after those two wars, Israel started to invent their own main battle tank, which is Merkava. So first is the Six-Day War. So during the Six-Day War, or the 1967 Arab-Israel War, during that war, Israel aware the importance of armored force because they depend on their armed force. They get a victory against get a great victory against the Arab country. And the second one is the 1973 Arab-Israel War. And during that war, their armored force suffered severe casualty because, and they aware the importance of defensiveness to the main battle. How important the defensiveness is to their own MBT. Yeah. And yeah, after that war, Israel starts to develop their own MBT, and which is Merkava. And the design philosophy of Merkava is about protectiveness. And that idea is could be caused by the small population size of Merkava, because it only has 9 million population. So Israel could not take like high casualties. So the protectiveness of the main battle tank is pretty important for Israel. So I divide a modern main battle tank into four systems. The first is power system. It's basically the engine case. And the second is the fire system. It could include the firepower. Yeah, the firepower system. It could include the fire control system and the night vision device. And some of the tank have a remote weapon station. And also the main weapon turret also belongs to the firepower system. And the third is the defense system. It could include the body armor, the tank body armor, and also could also the reactive armor, and some tank also have the active defense system, and the anti-nuclear biochemical system also included this. Yeah, and the fourth one and the last is the tank body, and like the body shape, like belongs to the fourth system. And here is a four-side view of the Merkava's MK2. Yeah. And then is a more detailed view of the tank body of the Merkava MK2. And from the picture, we could see that engine, like the engine of the Merkava is placed in front of the tank body, and that is different with all the rest tanks. Like in the world, like all other tanks in the world, they put the engine behind the tank body as a back part, and only Merkava put the engine in front of the tank body, and that could like greatly improve the survivability of the tank driver during wartime. Like even this tank get destroyed by missile or firepower or other firepower, the driver of the tank could survive after severe damage of the tank. Here is the detailed table of the Merkava, and we could from the table we could see that like the Merkava is greatly emphasized on defensiveness, and even for the Merkava's ammunition storage, like in the back part of the tank body, they put some protection for the ammunition, like to prevent it from the outside damage. Like they for every 4 rounds of ammo, like they have a protected container. And for during the for the development of Merkava project, they also experienced a lot of difficulties and challenges. And in the beginning, there are two main difficulties. First is whether Israel has the ability, have the industry ability and technical ability to complete the Merkava project. And second is whether Israel could complete the Merkava project in a reasonable price without harming their own economy. Because Israel is a relatively small country, and it only has a relatively small industrial size and economy comparing with a big country like American or Russia or USSR at that time or China. So their industry size is relatively small. Yeah. So in conclusion, if for Israel, it's necessary to enable the Merkava project to be produced with their indigenous technology and material, and also make the cost of Merkava be relatively low. And they, during the developed time of Merkava, so they experienced some political challenges. After the two war, Israel won. Britain once promised Israel to export the Chieftain tank to Israel, and also promised Israel to invite them to join the last development stage of the Chieftain main tank, Chieftain MBT tank. But once the UK received some protest from Arab country against Israel, the UK withdrew the technical support, and that is the political challenges Israel experienced. And they also experienced military challenges, due to a constant threat of war from the country around Israel. The research and development time of Merkava is kind of short. Israel cannot take 10 years to develop Merkava. They have to invent it very, very fast. And beside of that, they also experienced a lot of technical challenges. So before the born of Merkava, Israel had no experience in developing MBT independently. Before that, they only import or adjust main battle tank. And they also lack of experience in the tank's main gun protection. And they also lack of advanced material industry. So due to the initial inability to produce a qualified composite material, they have to stack the homogeneous steel plate to the tank body armor, and that made the Merkava very heavy and kind of slow comparing with other more than MBT. And here is the challenge the Merkava experienced. And that is my midterm presentation. Thanks for watching, and here is the reference. Thanks for watching.